I found my girlfriend are getting jelly between her two slice bread. This is sixth time since then he lost his consciousness and the transmigrator took the body. He was a simp, but not me.
Chapter 1: The Sixth Time Loser. If there's a manual on how to ruin a life, the original owner of this body, Ye Chen, had memorized it cover to cover. I woke up with a pounding headache and the smell of expensive perfume that didn't belong to me. My eyes adjusted to the opulent ceiling of the Ye family mansion. Memory fragments hit me like a high-speed train. I wasn't in my cramped apartment anymore. I was inside the novel, The Eternal Simp, Love Above Dignity. The original Ye Chen was a billionaire heir with the cultivation talent of a god, but the brain of a goldfish. He was obsessed with Lin Shi, the ice beauty of the capital. The memories played back like a horror movie. 3 months ago, Ye Chen walked into his guest bedroom to find Lin Shi under the sheets with the protagonist of the original book, Chu Feng. The first time, she cried. He apologized for intruding. The second time, she threatened to break up. He bought her a $2 million diamond ring to stay. The third to fifth times, it became a routine. She'd say, "It's just a spiritual healing session, Chen. Don't be so narrow-minded." And he'd nod, buying her a new villa each time. Yesterday was the sixth time, and, like a clockwork idiot, the original Ye Chen had knelt at her door begging her not to leave him because she was angry that he caught her again. The stress of being a professional doormat literally caused his soul to collapse. Enter me. Ding! God-level karma system initialized. Mission: break the simp cycle. Reward: primordial chaos body. Current status: Lin Shi and Chu Feng are currently in the West Wing balcony again. I looked at the clock. 3 a.m. 6 times in 3 months? I whispered, stretching my new, powerful limbs. Well, 7th time's a charm, but not for them. Chapter 2: The Ruthless Eviction. I didn't cry, I didn't tremble. I grabbed my phone, dialed the head of security and the local press. Yes, I have the media on speed dial, and walked toward the West Wing. I kicked the door open. No knocking, no "excuse me." Lin Shi screamed, pulling the silk sheets up. Chu Feng, with his smug protagonist smirk, didn't even look bothered. He expected the usual: Ye Chen crying, offering money, and leaving. "Chen, how dare you burst in?" Lin Shi hissed, her eyes cold. "I told you, Chu Feng is helping me stabilize my qi. If you can't trust me, maybe we shouldn't be together. I'm leaving." In the past, this threat made Ye Chen shake. I just leaned against the doorframe and checked my watch. "Great, you have 3 minutes." The room went silent. "What?" Chu Feng frowned, sitting up. "Ye Chen, you're acting out again. Apologize to Sheer." 3 minutes to get your clothes on and get out of my house, I said, my voice dropping to sub-zero temperatures. Actually, scratch that. Leave the clothes. I bought them. Leave the jewelry. I bought that too. Walk out in the sheets if you want, but if you're still on my property in 180 seconds, the dogs get fed early tonight. You're threatening me?" Lin Shi gasped. "I'll leave and never come back. You'll be begging on your knees tomorrow." "I'd rather beg a wall for conversation than talk to you," I retorted. The security team burst in. "Throw them out," I commanded. "The street, not the gate, the literal gutter." I watched from the balcony as the Ice Beauty and Young Hero were tossed onto the pavement in nothing but hotel towels, while reporters, tipped off by me, flashed their cameras. Ding! Karma points plus 10,000. Host has regained his dignity. Chapter 3: Meeting the Match. 2 weeks later, I was at a high-end cultivation auction. I had spent my time absorbing the system's rewards, reaching a level of power the original Ye Chen couldn't dream of. I was bored out of my mind until a woman sat in the VIP booth next to mine. She was stunning. Ebony hair, sharp eyes, and an aura that felt familiar. Not novel familiar, modern world familiar. She was scrolling her jade slip, the cultivation version of a tablet, with a look of pure disgust. "Are you kidding me?" she muttered under her breath. 1,000 spirit stones for a rusted sword? These NPCs have no sense of inflation. I froze. NPCs? I leaned over and said, "Actually, the market value is inflated because the sect leader of the Blue Cloud sect is a hoarder. It's a classic supply-demand trap." She turned to me, her eyes widening. She scanned my face, my expensive suit, and my relaxed posture. "Ye Chen, the legendary Simp King?" I winced. "Ex-Simp King. And you are Su Mei Ling." Then she lowered her voice. "But in my past life, I was a corporate lawyer in Seoul. I died from overwork and woke up as the villainess who's supposed to be poisoned in Chapter 50. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. I was an IT consultant in Kolkata, died of a caffeine overdose. We stared at each other for a solid 10 seconds before she burst out laughing. Oh, thank God, a real person. If I had to hear one more person talk about heavenly destiny or Jade Hada, I was going to throw myself off a cliff. Chapter 4. The Talkative Duo. We spent the rest of the auction ignoring the items and gossiping like old friends. "So," Su Mei Ling said, sipping her spirit tea, "since you threw Lin Shi out in a towel, bold move, very season 2 of you." "She was on her 6th strike," I explained, gesturing wildly. "Who cheats 6 times in the same house? It's inefficient. It's insulting to my intelligence." "Tell me about it," she groaned. "My fiancé is the 3rd prince. He's currently trying to marry his cousin while keeping me as a side cultivation vessel. I told him if he touches me, I'll sue him for breach of contract. He didn't know what a contract was, so I just punched him in the throat." "Classic lawyer move," I cheered. We realized we were the only ones in this world who understood the absurdity of our situation. We weren't just allies, we were 2 souls trapped in a badly written script, decided to rewrite the ending. Chapter 5. The Final Confrontation. Lin Shi and Chu Feng tried to make a comeback, of course. They showed up at the Great Sect banquet, claiming I had stolen a secret treasure from them. As they pointed fingers and played the victims, I stood up, but I wasn't alone. Su Mei Ling stood beside me, her arms crossed. "Ye Chen," Lin Shi cried, trying to look pathetic, "I know you're only with this woman to make me jealous. Forgive me, and I'll come back to you." I looked at Mei Ling. "Is she for real?" "The audacity is staggering," Mei Ling replied, tapping her chin. "Statistically speaking, your chances of getting him back are 0.00%. Also, your makeup is smudged. It looks like you cried into a puddle of mud." Chu Feng drew his sword. "You dare insult my woman?" "I didn't even use a weapon. I used a flick of my finger, empowered by the system's primordial chi. The shockwave sent him flying through 3 stone pillars." "I'm done being the subplot in your trashy romance," I said, walking toward them. "This world is mine now." Epilogue. A new script. 6 months later, Mei Ling and I were sitting on the roof of the highest pagoda, eating pizza. We spent 3 months teaching the royal chef how to make dough and cheese. "You know," Mei Ling said, leaning her head on my shoulder, "being a transmigrator is tiring, but the perks are great." "The company is better," I said, looking at her. "We didn't need a system to tell us our affinity level. In a world full of scripted puppets and predictable tropes, we found the only thing that was real: each other." "By the way," I asked, "did you hear Lin Shi tried to marry a goat demon because she heard he was rich in spirit stones?" Mei Ling choked on her crust, laughing. "No way! That's a plot twist I didn't see coming." "Well," I grinned, pulling her closer, "that's their story. Ours is just getting started."
After the banquet, Su Mei Ling and I realized that being powerful wasn't enough. In these novels, the will of the world loves to give the original protagonist lucky breaks. If Chu Feng fell off a cliff, he'd find a manual. If he got poisoned, he'd develop immunity and gain a harem member. "We need to treat this like a hostile takeover, Chen," Mei Ling said, pacing around my study. She was wearing a silk robe that looked suspiciously like a high-end pantsuit she'd forced a local tailor to make. "Chu Feng is the CEO of Destiny. We are the activist investors. We need to strip his assets before he can trigger the ancient war arc." I nodded, adjusting my glasses, which I'd crafted out of high-grade quartz just to feel more like myself. The system gave me a plot map. In 3 days, he's supposed to find the Dragon Tiger Spirit Root in the Black Mist Forest. It's what helps him jump from the Foundation stage to the Golden Core. Mei Ling smirked, a terrifying sight for anyone who knew her back in Seoul. "Not if we buy the forest first." "Buy it?" I blinked. "Mei Ling, it's a forbidden zone filled with demonic beasts." "Exactly. Who owns the deed? The royal family. And who is currently bankrupt because they spent their treasury on immortality pills that are actually just lead and honey? The king. I've already drafted the contract." Chapter 7. First Person, The Art of the Deal. I watched Mei Ling work, and honestly, it was more frightening than any cultivation technique I'd mastered. We went to the palace. The king tried to act all heavenly, sitting on his throne with a golden beard. "You wish to purchase the Black Mist Forest," the king thundered. "It is the ancestral hunting ground of—" "It's a liability, Your Majesty," Mei Ling interrupted. She didn't bow, she didn't even blink. "Last year, 17 high-ranking nobles died there. Their families are suing the crown for negligence in safety protocols. My client, Mr. Yi Chen, is willing to take this cursed land off your hands, settle all legal disputes, and pay you in liquid spirit essence." The king's eyes turned into dollar signs, or the cultivation equivalent. "Liquid spirit essence? That's rare." "I have a system, Your Majesty," I chimed in, leaning back. "I can literally produce it from thin air if I fast for a day. Do we have a deal?" 10 minutes later, we had the deed. When Chu Feng arrived at the forest 3 days later, ready for his destined encounter, he didn't find a mysterious cave. He found a massive stone wall and a sign written in glowing runes. "Private property. Trespassers will be litigated to the full extent of the law and then blown up." I was standing at the gate with a clipboard. "Yi Chen," Chu Feng roared, his eyes glowing with protagonist rage. "The Dragon Tiger Root belongs to the world. You cannot hoard the gifts of the heavens." "Actually," I said, checking my list, "according to the Land Management Act of the Great Azure Empire, subsection 4, I own the heavens above this plot up to 5,000 feet. You're trespassing, Chu Feng. Also, Lin Shi is behind that tree, isn't she?" Lin Shi stepped out, looking haggard. Her ice beauty persona was melting under the stress of being broke. "Chen, please, Chu Feng needs this root to protect me. Why are you being so petty?" "Petty?" I laughed, the sound echoing through the trees. "I'm not being petty, I'm being a landlord. Now get off my lawn before I call the sect security." Chapter 8. The Other Transmigrator Secret. That night, over a bottle of spirit wine, which tasted like a mix of vodka and battery acid, Mei Ling and I sat in our newly built Silicon Valley-styled sect headquarters. "You know, Chen," she said, looking at the stars, "I didn't just die from overwork. I was working on a case involving a tech giant that was laundering money through a VR cultivation game. When I woke up here, I realized this world, it's exactly like the source code of that game." I nearly dropped my cup. "You mean this isn't just a novel? It's a simulation?" "Maybe, or maybe the author was just a lazy programmer," she shrugged. "But look at this." She drew a symbol in the air. It wasn't a rune, it was a line of Python code. The air glitched. A small box appeared. "Admin access. Partial." "I can't change the big stuff yet," she whispered, "but I can see the simp meter of every man in this city. And yours, Chen, it's finally at 0%, but there's a new reading. Emotional resonance, 98%. With me. I felt my face heat up. I faced 10,000-year-old dragons in my memories, but a smart woman with admin rights was far more intimidating. Mei Ling, I said, my voice turning serious, the system is telling me that in 3 months, the end of the world event triggers. Chu Feng is supposed to save the world by sacrificing his harem. Since you're the villainess, you're the first one on his list. Mei Ling's eyes turned cold. He wants to sacrifice me to save a world he doesn't even understand? Over my dead lawyerly body. Chapter 9. Breaking the Script. The final arc began when Chu Feng, backed by the heavenly will, broke into the capital. He had leveled up by stealing from smaller sects, and he looked like a classic hero. Golden armor, glowing sword, and a trail of weeping women behind him. Lin Shi was there too, holding his cape. She looked at me with a mix of hatred and regret. Yi Chen, Chu Feng bellowed, your greed has upset the balance. The Sky-Cracker demon is awakening, and only the sacrifice of the pure hearts can seal him. Hand over Su Mei Ling. The crowd gasped. The NPCs, the commoners and other cultivators started whispering, if it saves the world, he should do it. One life from millions. I stepped forward, but Mei Ling grabbed my hand. Let me handle the opening statement, Chen. She stepped onto the balcony holding a megaphone I'd helped her build. Attention, citizens of the Azure Empire, you are being scammed. There is no Sky-Cracker demon. What you see in the sky is a localized atmospheric anomaly caused by Chu Feng's shitty cultivation technique, which leaks toxins into the ozone layer. The crowd went silent. Chu Feng looked confused. Nonsense. The prophecy says... The prophecy was written by your grandfather, I shouted. I did a DNA test on the ancient stone tablet. It's 100% related to you, buddy. This whole end-of-the-world event is just a giant insurance fraud to get you more power. Ding! World secret exposed. Chaos level, 100%. System note. Host, you're literally breaking the game. I love it. Chapter 10. The first-person narrative of the end. I looked at Chu Feng. For the first time, he didn't look like a protagonist. He looked like a cornered animal. I remember my old life, I thought. I remember sitting in a cubicle, taking orders from bosses who stole my work and took the credit. I remember the girls who only called when they needed their laptops fixed. I spent my whole life being the utility player. Not today. Chu Feng, I said, my voice echoing with the power of the primordial cosmos body, you represent everything I hate. You think your feelings justify your crimes. You think being a hero means you don't have to follow the rules. I charged. No flashy moves, just a straight, honest punch to the jaw. He tried to block with his Sword of Destiny, but Mei Ling, using her admin access, deleted the sword's collision physics. My fist went straight through the unbreakable blade and connected with his face. Crack! The heavenly will screamed. The sky turned from red to a boring normal blue. Lin Shi ran forward, crying, Chen, stop! If you kill him, who will lead us? I looked at her, and I felt nothing. No anger, no love. Just the same feeling I get when I see a 404 error page. Lead yourselves, I said. Or better yet, elect a committee. We're moving to a democratic system. Mei Ling has already written the Constitution. Chapter 11. The Happily Ever After. Our Way. We didn't stay to rule the empire. Being a king is just another high-stress job with no weekends. Instead, Mei Ling and I moved to the Black Mist Forest. We used my system and her admin access to build a villa that would make a Hollywood mogul jealous. It has central air conditioning, powered by ice talismans, a home theater, and a garden that grows actual coffee beans. We were sitting on the porch watching the sunset. So, I said, leaning back, the original hero is currently working in a coal mine to pay off the environmental damage lawsuits you filed against him. And Lin Shi, Mei Ling asked, smirking. She's a social media influencer, I chuckled. She spends her days trying to get people to like her jade slips for spirit credit. She's miserable because nobody's buying her Ice Beauty skincare line.
Mei Ling leaned her head on my shoulder. We really messed up this story, didn't we? No, I said, taking her hand. We fixed it. A story about a simp who never learns is a tragedy. A story about two people who find each other in the middle of a glitchy, crazy world. That's a rom-com. Talkative tonight, aren't we? She teased. I have a lot to say, and for the first time in 2 lives, I have someone worth talking to. Ding! Final mission complete. Live your best life. Reward, unlimited coffee supply. I closed the system notification. I didn't need it anymore. I have the girl, the house, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that somewhere out there, a protagonist is currently getting a server-timed-out error.